Could extremist groups be infiltrating Bay Area protests, trying to create chaos?
And Jen, it's one of those terms we've heard tossed around quite a bit in the last few days. These outside agitators that they come in, they get involved, and they unravel these protests into riots. The question is, who are they and what are their intentions?
Officials in Minnesota and Pennsylvania have also said they believe that white supremacists may be among those trying to infiltrate Black Lives Matter events. Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks hate group and extremist activity, tells us their intel found people associated with far-right and neo-Confederate groups are in fact participating in Bay Area protests.
It's important to understand that this is what they do, that they capitalize on political chaos and seek to sow further chaos.
Law enforcement officials believe that extremist organizations have infiltrated the protest, intent on stirring up trouble. Investigators are pointing to white supremacist organizations.
We're going to start releasing who some of these people are, and they'll be able to start tracing that history of where they're at and what they're doing on the dark web and how they're organizing. But I'm not trying to say that. I think our best estimate right now that I heard is about 20% is what we think are Minnesotans, and about 80% are outside.
We've learned that Denver police seized weapons and tactical gear from two men who came to Friday's protest. One of them is connected to a far-right extremist group that is preparing for a coming civil war in America.
This is what officers say they seized from them. 3 assault rifles, handguns, and other tactical equipment like gas masks, vests, numerous magazines, and ammunition.
We're ready to rock and roll.
McGee identifies with the so-called Boogaloo movement, a group who says it's preparing for a civil and race war.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Even before this weekend's protest began, some of Charlotte's local activists were raising questions about who was behind them and why.
I had clicked on the Facebook event post that I was interested in the march.
B. Cote was gearing up to attend Friday night's protest when a friend in city government warned her that she might want to reconsider.
She cautioned me that this was not being put on by anybody locally that she knew. So then I started reaching out to my friends who are activists, and turns out nobody knew this organization.
By then, information was circulating on social media here that the protests were quietly being organized by white supremacist groups to widen the racial divide.
I knew that it was not copacetic, and so I chose not to go. I reached out to some other organizers and told them this was some kind of outside entity.
According to court documents, the 3 men were determined to incite violence, which included a plan to burn police with Molotov cocktails during a Black Lives Matter protest that happened Saturday in downtown Las Vegas. They're accused of being part of an anti-government extremist group known as the Boogaloo movement. The court documents also indicate the men infiltrated at least 2 Black Lives Matter protests right here in the Valley and were encouraging protesters to get violent. Federal authorities say along with the Molotov cocktails, they also seized an AR-15 rifle, a shotgun, as well as ammunition.
Well, the Boogaloo movement is on the radar of the Anti-Defamation League of Nevada, and tonight we got more information on the ideology behind this movement.
So the Boogaloo movement actually is a variety of movements that come together, and they include some white supremacists, and they also that advocate for race war. They also include anti-government.
This is a movement that started online, but now we're seeing it in the streets. That's concerning.
We're seeing this around the country.
A tweet began circulating on Sunday evening into Sunday night, and I think we can bring it up on screen. It came from an account that said they were Antifa America, and it said, alert, tonight's the night, comrades. Tonight we say F the city, and we move into residential areas, the white hoods, and we take what's ours. Now that is obviously a clear call to violence, but we have learned since over the past 24 hours, Twitter telling us that account was not actually run by Antifa at all. It was, in fact, actually run by white nationalists, a known white supremacist group.
Let's describe it for you. You're talking about a suburban mom who felt so strongly about coming down here and adding her voice to the protesters. Then when the smoke of tear gas clears, she looks around. She's seeing fellow protesters coordinating on walkie-talkies wearing backpacks full of bricks. She and other protesters jumped in to try to stop whatever they were up to. And some protesters on walkie-talkies also stood out to her.
Not a lot of people know this, but there are
very highly organized. They have walkie-talkies. They deliberately try to infiltrate the protests and blend in. I started noticing that they started putting bricks in their backpack.